Now, hey guys, this mom here, right, went on vacation to Puerto Rico for 10 days. And she had a 16-month-old child that she left in the house to fend for herself. 16 months now. And whatever excitement that the vacation brought to her for those 10 days didn't outweigh the fact that she had a child that was at home that couldn't feed herself, couldn't do anything responsible wise for herself, but she left the child at home while she went on vacation. And when she returned from the vacation, the child was dead. Now, the mother's saying that she had some type of mental issues that she was going through. Now, we all go through things in life, but you understand that the child at that age can't feed himself. That the child at that age can't do anything for themselves. They're wearing a diaper. They need constant nurture. She could have dropped the child off at the local hospital, anywhere. And she has family members, and the family members are saying that they didn't know she was going through these mental issues, and and they're Spanish, so they don't speak English. That like the family would have got involved, and they're gonna forever keep the child in their heart. And I'm gonna play this sentencing that she has, where she pled guilty to this situation. 10 days of fun and taking pictures on the beach to post on your Instagram, Facebook, or wherever you post them at, right? Is not worth your life in jail and you being the cause of your child's death. A lot of things happen when you have children and they're growing in life, but to that form of magnitude to say, I'm going to leave a 16-month-old child in the house by themselves to take care of themselves while you go on vacation. Damn, it's like, it's a sickness inside of her head there, but you can't even sympathize with the mother because you left the child to go on vacation. But I want y'all to check this out, man. Check this out, man.
You committed the ultimate act of betrayal, leaving your baby terrified, alone, unprotected, to suffer what I heard was the most gruesome death imaginable.
An Ohio mother will spend the rest of her life in prison for leaving her toddler home alone for more than a week, where she starved to death while her mom jetted off on vacation. Prosecutors say 32-year-old Crystal Candelario left her 16-month-old daughter Jalen alone and unattended at her home beginning on June 6 of 2023. Candelario didn't return home until 10 days later on the 16th, and upon returning home, she made the tragic discovery. Her daughter was found unresponsive in what investigators described as a filthy playpen. She had been extremely dehydrated, and the young toddler was pronounced dead at the scene. According to the medical examiner, Jalen's body was extremely emaciated. She weighed less than 14 pounds at the time of her death. Investigators say Candelario left her daughter alone while she vacationed in Detroit and Puerto Rico. She was arrested and booked a day after returning home and discovering her daughter's body. In February of 2024, Candelario pleaded guilty to charges including aggravated murder and endangering children. During Candelario's sentencing, the prosecution said investigators combed through more than 600 hours of Ring camera footage, which actually showed Candelario left her daughter alone for 2 days before she jetted off on her vacation.
If in fact we would have gone to trial, the evidence was going to show that Crystal Candelaria left the state of Ohio on 6/4/2023. She leaves because there is a receipt that's found in her car that she is in Taylor, Michigan. Unbeknownst to Ms. Candelario, her neighbors had Ring doorbell, and the Cleveland Police Department Homicide Unit has gone through 648 hours and videos of the Ring doorbell, which you're going to see in this presentation. With regards to Ms. Candelaria, she returns to Cuyahoga County on 6/6 at 7:41 a.m. So at this particular point, we have reason to believe that this child was left alone for 2 days now, and she returns on 6/6/2023.
Prosecutors say after returning on June 6 of 2023, Ring camera footage captures Candelario again leaving Cuyahoga County, Ohio, where police cameras later captured her movements in Detroit, Michigan.
Through the search warrants, we were able to retrieve her Spirit airline tickets that showed her departure and her return from Puerto Rico. She was gone from 6/8 to 6/11. And it's interesting, Your Honor, because in the defense memorandum, it says that her abrupt stopping of medications played a significant role in her ability to function as a parent and make sound decisions. So when we look at, these are items from her phone, her actions indicate to us that she is in Puerto Rico having a good time with friends, and that there is not a care in the world about the 16-month-old that was left alone in the pack and play. These pictures show somebody who is showing sound discretion and judgment because she's having a good time. Meanwhile, this child is in a pack and play.
The prosecutor said during Candelario's vacation, Ring camera video captured the sounds of crying from her toddler while she was left unattended. When she returned on June 16th, prosecutors say upon discovering her daughter dead in the pack and play, Candelario redressed the young toddler before calling 911. Portions of that phone call were played before the judge in court, where Candelario can be heard screaming for help.
Please, I need help. Okay, I can't help you if I don't know where you're at, so tell me the address so we can help you. 129 with my parents. Okay, is there a single or an apartment? Please. What's your name? Crystal. Crystal. What's your last name, Crystal? Please, what's happening? Please help me. And what's your number in case you get the disconnected.
The state says despite Candelario's emotional phone call to 911, the next day she went back to Detroit to visit one of the men she had been dating. During her interview with investigators, Candelario claimed she had been home all week and her daughter hadn't been eating well for the past few days. She said she woke up that morning and found Jalen unresponsive.
So that was just Monday and Tuesday of this week. She was throwing up.
Yes.
And then how was she Wednesday and Thursday?
She was with no food, just with a meal, because she was refusing. Maybe it's because she getting vomiting 2 days, before.
Yeah.
So that's why
What?
that was scary, because they say, oh my God, we need to go to the hospital because she doesn't eat anything. And she was lose tiny, her weight.
Yeah.
I lose, her weight. But right now, in this morning when I wake up, she was asleep. She sleep every day 12 hours.
Okay.
She sleep like at 9 p.m. through 9 or 10 a.m.
Okay.
12 hours. So, in this morning I was sleeping too. I never wake up. She was...
What happened? What was going on last night?
Last night she was crying a lot. And I see one moment when I was take a shower, and she was screaming like, I don't know, probably she getting pain.
Okay.
Maybe.
About what time was that last night?
Maybe at 7 or 8 p.m.
Okay.
So she was screaming like, probably for pain or something like that. In this morning when I wake up, I took her in the morning for, Jaylene, wake up, da, 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 da. And she wake up, and when I see her, I see she looks like a really, really dry, like a, ¿cómo se dice cuando una persona se chupa, o sea, kind of like, yeah.
Oh, like her face was sunken in?
So, yeah. Y ahí fue que yo me asusté y dije.
Prosecutors say Jaylin died a horrible death, prompting them to bring in the medical examiner, Dr. Elizabeth Mooney, to explain to the judge the terrible and horrendous conditions Jaylin suffered.
Unfortunately, this is one of the most tragic and unfortunate cases I've had in my career thus far. So today I speak on behalf of her and her findings with the course of my examination. We received Jaylin at the medical examiner's office from the scene of her residence, at which time she was clothed in non-soiled clothing, indicating her body had likely been dressed prior to first responders' arrival, as they had mentioned before. So at autopsy, I examined the body of a very emaciated female toddler. At this point, she weighed 13 pounds. Upon review of medical records, this indicated approximately a 7-pound weight loss since her previous doctor's visit less than 2 months prior to that. The eyes were sunken, and she had temporal wasting in her face. In addition to that, the skin showed markedly decreased turgor, meaning when I pinch the skin, it remains in that tented position, indicating severe dehydration. In addition, there was abundant fecal material present, caked on the fingers, the fingernails, the hands, the feet, as well as the soles of the feet. The same material was found on her lips, which were very dry and flaking, as well as in her oral cavity, caked to her teeth.
Dr. Mooney said Jaylin's body fed upon itself, trying to get nutrients. Her kidneys failed, and based on the decomposition and state of her body, she had likely died 2 or 3 days before her mom returned and discovered her body. Jaylin's cause of death was ultimately ruled as starvation and extreme dehydration due to pediatric neglect. The state said none of Jaylin's family called their office to ask about the case. Instead, they were more concerned about Candelario. So law enforcement became the voice for the young toddler. Sergeant Teresa Gomez became emotional as she explained Jaylin's young life was cut too short for no apparent reason.
This tragedy should have never happened. I am Sergeant Gomez from the Homicide Unit. The entire Homicide Unit, Cleveland Homicide Initiative, and our partners from the FBI are here today in honor of baby Jaylene Candelario. When we were first notified of this horrific case, we were all heartbroken. But when we started digging deeper into the investigation, it was beyond horrific. It was revealed that the defendant, Crystal Candelario, left her own child alone for hours, which led to days, which led to weeks. This 16-month-old baby was left alone in a pack and play to fend for herself for 11 days with no food, maybe milk, the clothing she had on, and the diaper she was wearing. This baby loved her mother, she needed her mother, and her mother betrayed her.
Later, when it came to the defense's turn to speak, Candelario's lawyer, Derek Smith, didn't condone her actions.
Everything that I'm about to get into here today, and my client agrees with me, is no justification for her actions. And what the prosecution said, actions matter, and these actions are narcissistic, selfish, abhorrent, absolutely worst parenting imaginable. She pled to aggravated murder. She pled to child endangering. So everything we're about to tell you is mitigation.
The defense says Candelario was struggling with being a single mother of two.
Fast forward to 2023. It's just overwhelming. She even tried to harm herself. Took 20 Motrin, ended up in Metro. In early February of 23, after spending just a few days in her room alone, her mother went to check on her, asked her what was going on. Her whole side of her body was numb. Didn't know what was going on. They took her to Hillcrest Hospital. She was admitted there, and they were doing some evaluations for her migraine. She was complaining about headaches and weakness, facial drooping, thought it was possible stroke. They put her on IV Depakote, which is a anti-seizure, also used to treat manic disorder. And at the end of the day, after evaluations, she was clean, nothing wrong with the brain. They gave her oral Depakote and Effexor, 2 antidepressants, and sent her home. She was not very clear on what those were, but she was taking them supposedly as directed. And then she returned to Hillcrest Hospital again in March, and there was a note from the doctor saying that she should have had plenty of Effexor, but she's saying that she's out and she needs more, and she's coming back with the same problems. So they got her evaluated again, and they were saying that her anxiety and her stress was the trigger for these physical manifestations to what was happening to her, for the loss of sensation in the side of her body, the numbness. And they prescribed her more Depakote, more Effexor, and also Atarax to help her sleep because she wasn't sleeping. And this is in March of 2023. And, take the medications as prescribed. And then medications ran out. She wasn't feeling any better. They weren't working. She stopped. Not supposed to do that with these drugs, Your Honor. These are very serious mental health drugs. And you need to be tapered off of these medications, or there could be some side effects. Not only the side effects, but the actual underlying conditions that she may have had or been suffering from are also going unmedicated at this time.
Smith said the photos of Candelario on the beach didn't show the entire story, adding she was hiding her depression from herself and her family. He said there was no justification for Candelario's actions. She could have called authorities or done things differently.
When you're in that state, when you're off medication, mismanaging your thoughts, you're not thinking clearly. Her body she had to get out, and she was having fun. If she was okay, in her mind, Jaylene was okay. Of course that's not the case. But I will point to when she did finally get home, and we heard that 911 call, she didn't want this to happen. You could hear that. Screaming, help me, my daughter's dying. Yes, because of your actions. Because of what your choices were. And you took responsibility for that. But that call, that one tiny breach from whatever was going on in her head, that reality that her daughter was dying, she was calling for help. She didn't want that.
The defense called Candelario's mother and father to speak before the judge, and despite the prosecution saying Jaylen's extended family never followed up with the state about the case, Candelario's family, through an interpreter, said they were sorry for not seeing the signs their daughter was struggling on the inside, and they will never forget Jaylen.
No one ever imagined that this suffering would culminate in a tragedy.
Y hoy aquí quiero decirle a Jaylene
And here I'm
que eres nuestro ángel, Jaylene.
I want to say here before Jaylene, our angel,
Tu recuerdo vive en nosotros.
that your memory lives within us.
Siempre te amaremos.
We will always love you.
Te acuné en mis brazos.
I held you in my arms.
Tus abuelos nunca te olvidarán.
Your grandparents will never forget you.
Perdóname, bebé,
Forgive me
por vivir la oscuridad del conocimiento.
for being in the dark.
Candelario also addressed the court where she appeared visibly emotional. Through an interpreter, she said she was extremely hurt by everything that happened.
I'm not trying to justify my actions.
Pero nadie sabe cuánto yo estaba sufriendo
but nobody knew how much I was suffering
y por lo que estaba pasando.
and what I was going through.
Todos los días le pido perdón a Dios y a mi hija, Yailin.
Every day I ask forgiveness from God and from my daughter, Jaylene.
Soy una persona creyente de Dios
I'm a person who believes in God.
y reconozco hoy que todos y todas, muchas ocasiones, somos tentados por el enemigo.
And I recognize today that all of us are sometimes subject to the enemy.
Candelario said not a day goes by that she doesn't think of her daughter and says she prays to be reunited with her surviving daughter one day. However, the judge didn't mince words, saying Jaylin died without the protection of her own mother, who chose to have fun over parenthood.
You committed the ultimate act of betrayal, leaving your baby terrified, alone, unprotected, to suffer what I heard was the most gruesome death imaginable, with no food, no water, no protection, and lying in her own feces. Ms. Candelaria, you know the responsibility of parenthood. You have a child already. You raised another child. And I've witnessed here before me your parents who showed you love and respect and education. And they came here to help you, to advocate for you, more than what you've done for your own child. The evidence that I've witnessed here before this court shows that this time you simply chose not to be here because you wanted to have fun. You decided you needed a vacation, and what followed was absolute depravity.
The judge said at any point Candelario could have called for help or had someone come over to watch Jaylin, but she chose otherwise.
Instead, I see photos of you on a beach while your child was eating her own feces in an attempt to survive. Photos mean something. And I'm well aware of mental health, but didn't look like you were too concerned about your child.
The judge said just as Candelario left Jaylin alone to die, he ordered she face a similar punishment of life in prison.
The only difference will be that prison will at least feed you and give you liquids that you denied her.
The judge said this is one of the most difficult cases to hear.
Hey, man, this is wild. This is wild, man. The woman tried to hide the situation. When she got back and found out that the child was dead, she tried to hide the situation like these people don't do this for a living. Like these people don't do this for a living. This is their job.
2 days before she just
They do this for a living, man.
vacation in Detroit and Puerto Rico. She was arrested and booked.
And they did the autopsy on the child and seen that the child died 2 days before she reported it. So, you know, they're going to get the cell phone records and get your Instagram records. And she was posting pictures in Puerto Rico. Her Ring camera detected when she came in and out the house. The Ring camera detected the child crying inside the pack and play. The child was eating his own feces, trying to survive, hungry, crying. This here was torture to the child at 16 months. The child doesn't even understand anything about life. And she suffered for those 10 days. And the mom went to Puerto Rico to vacation with some friends. You could have dropped that baby on anybody and said, I'm going to the store right quick and I'll be back, and don't come back. Somebody would have took care of the child, helped the child out. But she said, I'm going to leave the child in the house by themselves. And the child suffered. And she got life in prison for this. She got life in prison for this. That vacation in Puerto Rico wasn't worth it for the child's life and for her life. And she tried to make an excuse that she had mental health issues, man. I'm not going for no mental health issues, because we have the ability to make decisions on things that we know are right from wrong. You know it's wrong to leave a child in the house, but you wanted to go so bad that you didn't care if the child ate or if the child lived. This is a rough one right here, man. So I can't feel any sympathy for her. My sympathy is with the child. The child suffered. The child loved the mother. When an infant is growing to the toddler stages, they don't know anything but to love the mother. You don't start remembering things till you're about 4 years old. This child lived a short life that they can't even remember nothing of that life. In the afterlife, however it goes. But the mom just said she didn't care. She wanted to go out and party. And went all the way to Puerto Rico from Ohio and left the child in the house, man. That's sick, man. So now she gonna suffer day in and day out in jail behind this. This is something that she's gonna relive until her time comes. And most likely, if she doesn't harm herself in the jail, she's gonna live to be old and think about this daily. Every action has a reaction. You got to be mindful. When you making decisions to do things in life, and you making decisions to have kids, as a mom, you got to understand that that responsibility is a full-time responsibility. You chose that responsibility. But she could have gave that child to somebody. Somebody would have took that child. If you saying, I'm going to leave the child in the house by himself, somebody would have said, I'll take the child. You don't have to leave the child in the house by himself. I'm sure of that. Because you know, it's some people that play those mental games. If you was to go to somebody and say, I'm going to leave the child in the house while I go, somebody would have said, man, bring the child here. But she thought that she was going to hide that and not feed the child, and the child going to be able to survive. That's a no-no. That's a no-no, man. She got what she deserved, though, because she definitely deserved life in prison for that. Your own child, you leave to starve with no care in the world while you party, while you take pictures and your child is far away suffering and crying. That's distasteful, man. Disgusting, man. Disgusting. The child is going to haunt her forever. That's going to haunt her forever. She got to think about this day in and day out while she's in jail. But the only thing is, the child starved to death, but they going to feed her in jail. She going to eat 3 meals in jail. She's not going to starve. She going to have the ability to live and to nurture herself. She's still going to get to do her hair. She's just not going to be able to leave. And to think that she left for 10 days while the child was in the house crying and starving. Damn. That's a rough one there, man. That's like the worst. Something that you birthed to go hang out with some people that really don't care about you, that's entertaining you for their purposes, but the child didn't ask to be here. All they know is you, and you leave the child in the house by themselves with no food and a playpen. Damn. That's some deep stuff right there. That's deep. Just to go have some fun. Damn. Now, as the time goes by and these years go by and her life is inside a jail cell, she really gonna suffer mentally. Because you done lost your child, you in jail, and she has another kid that I'm sure is like, damn, Mom, you killed my sibling. I'm thinking that the other child is a little older, where she raised that child up. It's like, why didn't you ask that child to watch the child? So if you had an older child, why wouldn't she have the child? Why wouldn't you have somebody keep an eye on the child because you wanted to go that bad? You didn't even leave a child in the house that was able to do for themselves, able to put something in the microwave to feed themselves. Like, damn. That's a rough one there. You left a child that just started to learn how to walk in the house by themselves for 10 days. She's the worst of the worst. And every day, wherever she was at, she fed herself. How can you have a 16-month-old child, right? Knowing that you got to feed the child, and you leave them at home and you out feeding yourself every day. You can't tell me that's a mental issue she had. She just didn't care. She didn't care what happened to the child. If the child was okay or not. She might have hoped that the child survived. But things might have got a lot worse if she got back and the child wasn't dead. She might have started torturing the child herself. Because that right there is the ultimate torture, to leave the child in the house while you go to Puerto Rico for 10 days. Like, that one there got me. When I seen this story here, I said, she's not just mentally messed up. She's dumb, stupid, crazy, all the above. And I hope she goes sometime where she has to experience where she doesn't eat. Because it's the worst when you're hungry. When you come out the womb, you hungry. You want food fresh out the womb. Everybody knows how grouchy you can get when you hungry. She knows. But she left the child in the house by herself at 16 months. That's foul. Yeah, man. Leave a comment on this story here, man, because that's a deep one, man. Hit that subscribe button if you ain't subscribed to the channel, man. Share this video. Maybe some other mothers that are going through something will understand that whatever you do, don't leave your child in the house. The child's not going to survive without you. But it's your boy DZ, man. Hit that subscribe button. Share this video, man. It's not about the setback. It's about the get back. Nah.